Regardless of the paint color you choose, all new buildings constructed in Hayward these days are green. We sat down with Steve Osborne from the city's building division to find out exactly what that means.
So green building is a term that we use to describe a holistic approach to sustainable building. You could also call it high performance building. And it tackles a variety of issues that relate to impacts on the environment and impacts on human health, the occupants of the building. So all green buildings need to handle the planning of the building, the position of the building, where it is in the built environment. Ideally, you want a building near transit. You want to reduce the number of vehicle trips to that building. We need to look at the energy efficiency of the building. We need to look at the lighting load and the insulation and the amount of glazing, what we call windows. We also have to look at the materials that are used for the building. We want to encourage recycled materials. We want to encourage materials that are sourced from appropriate locations in terms of their impact on the environment. And finally, we look at the environmental quality of the buildings. That's indoor air quality, getting an optimal amount of fresh air, reducing the off-gassing of negative chemicals from paints, carpets, and other materials. So when a building's tackled all of those various aspects, we consider that a green building.
All right, so that's what green building is. But what does that look like in practice?
This is Apricot Station. These houses were designed and submitted for permit around 2013. That was under the 2008 energy standards. But at that time, the city has adopted a new energy ordinance, which all the new construction has to be 15% better than the Title 24 energy standards. So in these houses, we'll get to see a lot of interesting energy features that's going beyond Title 24. If you look at the solar heat gain coefficient, 0.27, that's actually a very incredible number. If you can imagine a perfectly clear piece of glass, will give you about 100% solar heat gain coefficient. And a piece of opaque surface will give you 0. This is at 0.27, that means 73% of the solar energy is being blocked.
Another area where energy conservation is pretty important is in lighting, is that correct?
Basically 50% of the kitchen lights power must come from high efficacy lights. But in this case, I can see it's probably 100%, it's all LEDs here.
We were just outside. It feels like it's about 85 degrees out there, but inside, even with the doors open, it's actually pretty cool.
There are a couple factors. Of course, the windows, we talked about the U factor before. These are very high efficiency windows. And walls and roofs are very well insulated. Compared to construction 10, 20 years ago, the standard of wall insulation is probably R11. Right now, the minimum mandatory measures are R13. And the roof was probably R19, and now that's R30 roof insulation.
We've seen a lot of incredible things, especially over the last 5 to 10 years in terms of energy efficiency and new construction. But what does the future hold? Where are we headed?
The 2013 requirements are actually quite a bit jump from the 2008 standards. It's actually 25% better. So a similar house, if that were built under the 2013 requirements, will use about 25% less energy.
All these new requirements must be tough to deal with, right? Not so much.
Well, in Hayward, we're really good about providing counter service and preliminary meetings and code assistance meetings. So our staff puts a lot of effort in educating the public. We see that as our role here. So when anyone's embarking on a new building, we take time to meet with them early, give them a heads up on all the different codes and different challenges really that they may face as they move forward, and explain it to them. Some of the things look overwhelming, but they're actually not that hard to comply with. Some of these codes are there to push the industry along, push the materials industry along, and once they're on board, it's really a non-issue. So there's numerous measures in all of those main categories that all buildings have to comply with now in California, throughout the state.